everyone, it's Hunter and welcome back to my channel. If you guys are new here, it is so nice to meet you. In today's video, I am going to be talking about my favorite thriller authors. I have been posting book videos once a week, so I hope you guys have been enjoying them because I have so much to say about book videos, but I don't, or so much to say about books that I want to make videos about, but I don't want to overwhelm you with book videos. So I hope that you guys are enjoying these in addition to my other content. So I am going to be talking about my favorite thriller authors today. I'm going to give you kind of a list of a few of their books that I've read, how I feel about them, the type of books that they write, and I also have an honorable mentions list, authors that I don't really feel like I have read enough of to give super great description of, but ones you should definitely check out, so I will do those at the end. I also have two young adult thriller authors that I think you guys should check out, and yeah, I really love a thriller novel. I know I've been reading a lot of romance recently, but thriller will always have my heart. It's kind of what got me back into kind of reading so much. I got my Kindle in 2019 and I downloaded a thriller novel on there and it's been a game changer for me. So definitely it has a special place in my heart. So I thought I'd share my fave authors. So before we get started, I would love it if you guys would subscribe to my channel down below and give this video a thumbs up, and let's go ahead and get started. I do not have these authors in any particular order in terms of favorite, but I do have a favorite out of these five. So I'm giving you 5 regular adult thriller authors, 2 young adult thriller authors, and then I have a list of my honorable mentions. So let's get started with my 5 general adult thriller fiction novels. Let's go. That was a mouthful. So first we have Mary Burton, and Mary Burton I feel like is not an author that gets discussed a lot at all. A lot of her books are on Kindle Unlimited, which is how I found her. She has a total of 45 books, which is so many. That's like so many books to write, but my monitor just turned off. But a lot of her books are great for like criminal, procedure, serial killer type things. If you are into Criminal Minds, I highly recommend reading her books because I feel like she kind of grasps the concept of Criminal Minds and puts it in a book really, really well. I personally started watching Criminal Minds because I really enjoyed her books, and I was like, if I enjoy her books, I'm probably gonna like the show. So a lot of times they are about FBI profilers, about police officers, investigators, things like that. So I am a huge fan of her books. There are a couple of series that I really love. There's the Criminal Profiler series, and this one kind of is not based, like it's not the same main character in every single book, but so like there's a medical examiner, there's a bunch of police officers, there are just all kinds of people, and it's based on like this whole group of people. So that is a thing, and you can read those as standalones as many times as you want to. Honestly, any of these could be read as standalones. Then there are the Forgotten Files, which are like cold cases. Those were really good, and I read all of those. Those were probably my favorite. And then there is the Montana stories. So far I think there's only 2 in that series, but I read them both and they were pretty good. And then you have Morgans of Nashville. So it's like this family, their last name is Morgan, and it's based on these different people who are kind of related. They're not kind of related, they're siblings. They are in a, when I say related, they're all in related careers. So like you have a lawyer, you have a police officer, you have an FBI agent, things like that. And I think their stories are really good. I really like them. And then there's also the Texas Rangers, and they are a group of police officers based out of Texas. So really enjoy all of Mary Burton's books, and I really feel like she's underrated. I don't feel like enough people talk about her books. Also, they all have just like tiny little romance stories woven throughout, so it kind of personifies, kind of like gives people more like human, I don't know, it humanizes the characters a little bit more, which I really love. Next, for criminal type authors that have police officers but also can be just like, I don't know how to explain it. There is Karin Slaughter, and she is my absolute favorite of the thriller authors that I have on this list. So she was the first person I wrote down on this list actually. But we have the books Pretty Girls, The Good Daughter, Pieces of Her, False Witness, and then my favorite of one of the series is Will Trent series, and there's The Kept Woman, which is part of that. And there's also the Grant County series. Some of these books are based on like really just scary things. They're not necessarily serial killers. Sometimes they're serial crimes, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're serial killers. So sometimes there's murder, sometimes there's not. Sometimes the murder is a result of a different crime, but it's not like the main person's goal is to kill someone, if that even makes sense. I feel like where Mary Burton's books are more like episodes of Criminal Minds, each book is like an episode in my head, Karin Slaughter is definitely like a movie. Like each one is a movie to me. And because they are a lot longer, they're a lot more serious, they're a lot more graphic, but I don't feel like it's unnecessarily graphic. I feel like it definitely, the descriptions move the story along really well. Helps you really understand and grasp grasp the seriousness of each situation, and I feel like they're so well written. Even though they're so long, they hold your attention really well. I don't think any of them are slow. There are actually no slow parts in any of them. I don't feel like anything is overly confusing. I feel like it makes sense. Just overall, Karin Slaughter writes incredible thriller novels, and I would highly recommend her if you can handle the graphic parts of the books. Sometimes it talks about like when someone gets shot, it's like super descriptive about like what happens to their body, that kind of thing. That's what I mean by descriptive graphic, but I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. So really, really, really love her. And then there are three kind of like psychological thrillers. Okay, so first is SHARI LAPENA, and I have read quite a few of hers. I've read The Couple Next Door, The Stranger in the House, The End of Her, and Not a Happy Family. Not a Happy Family was my favorite. Not a Happy Family was more of like a murder mystery in my mind, but I do feel like a lot of her books are based on like families and like manipulation in families, secrets in families, and things like that, which is very different from the other two authors I've already shared. But I am a big fan of her, like I said, domestic kind of. They're more like domestic thrillers. You are trying to figure stuff out with people, but not necessarily in the same way that you are like looking for a serial killer. Like in Not a Happy Family, they're trying to figure out who murdered the parents of this family. The Couple Next Door, a child is kidnapped. They're trying to figure out where she is. A Stranger in the House, this woman is trying to figure out like why it feels like there's someone in her house all the time. I can't remember The End of Her. I know I've read it. I can't remember what it was. I'm gonna have to look up the description, but that kind of thing. And then the next one on this list is Miranda, and she's also more of domestic thriller type things. But this one is more like, how do I describe it? They are domestic thrillers. Okay, these are more, they are crime based more than just like secrets in a family, if that makes sense. So The Last House Guest, this one definitely is like, they're trying to figure out a mystery behind someone that died a year before. The Girl from Widow Hills, the girl who is from Widow Hills, something happened to her as a child and she's trying to kind of get to the bottom of it. Such a Quiet Place, there was a crime and a person got let out of jail. The person who thinks committed it. It's a whole thing, but it like happens with the neighborhood. Lots of secrets and betrayal and all this stuff. Really good. I highly recommend Miranda and SHARI LAPENA. And the last of the regular adult thriller fiction is Minka Kent, and she, in my mind, is like Mary Burton, not talked about enough. Hers are very much psychological thrillers. A lot of them focus on a character who has some trauma and is dealing with some sort of psychological trauma. So they are dissociating, or they lost their memory, or someone makes them think they're crazy. There's a lot of gaslighting going on, really unhealthy relationships and things like that. So this one is domestic, but definitely more psychological than domestic, if that makes sense. So yes, there are secrets, but it's like people are dealing with problems with their mental health, which is why it's more psychological. There is The Stillwater Girls, When I Was You, The Thinnest Air, The Perfect Roommate, and then the last two are The Memory Watcher and The Watcher Girl, and they are connected, although they can be read as standalones. They'll make sense if you read them separately, but if you read them one after the other, they are connected. So it's kind of cool to see how those connected, because I definitely read them like with a lot of time in between, and I was like, wait a second, this is from her other book. So that was cool. But I really, really enjoy the psychological thriller. Those are very interesting to me. So like, even if someone dies, it's still like, I don't know, reading about her, I don't know, her books are just really good. I didn't realize how many of them I had read until I went through the list on Goodreads, and I think I've read a majority of Minka Kent books, and like I said, really big fan. If you're into psychological thriller, highly, highly, highly recommend reading her books. Next, I have two for young adult thrillers, and these will be super quick. First is Holly Jackson, and she only has 3.5 books. When I say half, she has a novella. That's like a follow-up or something. It's part of the series, but it is a Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. These are like the perfect introduction to, actually I have 3 YA thrillers, sorry. They're the perfect introduction to thriller novels if you are new to them and you kind of want to get into it. This is like a way to get your feet wet. Usually it is high school students, not usually, it is a high school student who is trying to solve these different, one's a murder, they're all murders. She's trying to figure out murders, and there's all kinds of things. There's like a lot of webs that go into it. They're really good, 10 out of 10 in my opinion. I really liked them, so definitely check those out if you're trying to get your feet wet with the thrillers. The next one is NATASHA Preston, and these ones are super creepy. Like, I am so shook at how someone can come up with stuff that is so like psychopathic. Like, these people are like psychopaths. psychopaths. The people in these books are truly psychopaths, and I have no idea how she came up with these ideas, but they're so good. So like one of them, they're like, a girl goes to camp and things happen. The Lost, someone's trying to figure out where all these missing people are going. You Will Be Mine, I can't remember what that one was. If I read the description, I would know. And then The Cellar, these girls are trapped in a cellar. They were kidnapped. So all of them are literally so good. So I really like those. And the last young adult thriller author I wanted to talk about is KARIN McManus. I'm sure you guys know about her books. She wrote One of Us is Lying, and then One of Us is Next. That's a series. And then she's written The Cousins, You'll Be the Death of Me. I feel like there's another one, but I can't remember what it's called. But I also feel like she is the perfect introduction to, like, she is the blueprint for young adult thriller in my opinion. And they're high school students, because usually young adult novels are located on high school. They're like high school level people. The characters are in high school. The crimes are serious enough that they are like legitimate crimes. Not crimes, but like the things that are happening are like legitimately problems, but they're also not like super graphic, super tame in terms of like how things are described. So yeah, I really enjoy those three authors as young adult thriller authors. And now for my honorable mentions, just a few authors for you to check off your list if you need some ideas. I have Lucinda Berry, really love her. Gillian Flynn, I have read 2 of her books, Sharp Objects and Dark Places. And then Taryn Fisher, she's really good. I've read The Wrong Family, which I loved. And then there's also The Wives, which I have not read yet, but I've heard it's really, really good. I do have it actually, I just haven't read it yet. And then Behind Her Eyes by Sarah Pinborough. I've never read any of her other books, which is why she's on the honorable mentions list. Lucy Foley, she has a bunch of books. I've only read 2 of them, The Guest List and The Hunting Party. And then she has a new one coming out soon called The Paris Apartment, which I'm looking forward to reading. Mary Kubica, I really like The Other Misses. There are other books by her that I haven't read yet that I'd like to. And Ruth Ware, who wrote The Woman in Cabin 10 and The Lion Game. There are other books by her that I also would love to read that I just have not gotten around to reading. That was a lot of information really, really quickly in this video, so I hope you guys don't mind that I just like word vomited about these books. But that is all I have for today's video. So if you guys enjoyed it, don't forget to subscribe to my channel down below, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!